Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a short little knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Boker Kalashnikov flipper button lock. A lot of you guys may be familiar with the Boker Kalashnikov as an automatic knife. This is the manual version. This knife is exactly the same other than the fact that it's not an automatic, which means I really don't need to do a super long review. I feel like most people are familiar with the Boker Kalashnikov, and honestly, it's still probably one of the best options as far as budget automatic knives go. They are well built in the sense that they are, they're not knives that just come apart. I have a friend who's got one that's 12 or 13, maybe 14 years old now and is still going. They have a couple of quality control issues here and there, but they're largely good knives. And that's essentially what we're looking at here, except for a manual version. So who this is going to be for are people who really like the idea of the Boker Kalashnikov or really like how it looks, but they've never been able to buy one because it's either illegal to carry automatic knives or it's illegal to own them in the area, in which case this would be for you. I'm going to link this knife right down in the description. You guys can check it out if you want to. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks to Blade HQ for sending this in. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. We're going to blast through specs here. Not going to do everything that I normally do, but we'll do a few things. Overall length of the button lock Kalashnikov is 7.5 inches. 3.3 inch blade with a 3.25 inch cutting edge. How about some size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and the Ontario Rat Model 2? Definitely closer to the size of the Rat 2, just with a little bit more presence, I guess. How about up against the Spyderco Para 3? I think that's probably a good one. How about up against the CJRB Pyrite? How about up against the Civivi Elementum? There we go. And then last but not least, I think we'll do the Benchmade Bug Out. So how's the action on this guy? Well, this isn't quite the same experience as I get with like a Civivi button lock, which I think they make some of the best budget button locks on the market, but it's good enough. The plunge lock is acting as the detent, and the flipper tab, well, it's not a perfect flip. I think I wish the detent was a little heavier. It works, right? You can get it to flip and you can get it to drop, and that's, for a lot of people, that's really all they expect. There is a little bit of detent lash, meaning when the blade is in the closed position, it kind of wiggles around a little bit, and you can kind of see here, it's like comes up and then you can push it back down and it'll stay in there. But if you're expecting the overall fit and finish of this knife to be perfect or changed at all from what we've seen over the last 15 years or so since the Boker Kalashnikov came out, no, that's wishful thinking. It's essentially the same thing. I think maybe they've gotten a little bit better with like cutting the bevels on the edge. But outside of that, not really, right? There's no stick or anything like that. It works. It's going to lock out, and it's going to lock out securely. This isn't a knife that's going to disengage. Not that this vinyl upholstery is a hard enough surface to really be able to showcase that, but it's not going to disengage unless you're doing something stupid with it. So just make good choices, and you'll probably have all your fingers at the end of the day. But anyways, carry profile up against the Spyderco Para 3, right? It's about the same. I mean, really in the pocket, it's going to be similar to carrying the Para 3 without the camel's hump, right? We no longer have the bacon clip. They've replaced it with a clip that is better. It's okay. It's shorter and it's whoop, right? It just looks like it was straight and someone pounded this little divot into it. It's fine. It's got a little bit of a grabby bill, right? And, you know, it might grab and snag on something. For some reason, they have not. I mean, we have a clip that, well, I guess it's curved at the top. It's really, they've designed it to where it's really just going to be for right-handed people. There's not really a way to mount this on the other side. So I feel like that was a little bit of a miss there. Ergonomically, it's still forcing you into exactly one position. Now, the handle is short enough to where even if these weren't here, you still would basically just have one position to hold the knife in. But there is literally no wiggle room. You are putting 4 fingers into 4 slots, and that is how you're going to hold this knife. That is, they do not give you another option. I really wish that they would just smooth this out, right? Just give us that primary area right here. I mean, we're locked in enough. This just feels weird. It just feels too, almost like you're locked into a carnival ride, right? I mean, like it's made for your body, but you're so locked in, it's kind of uncomfortable, right? You can't really enjoy. I don't know if that's a really good analogy or not. Let's weigh it real quick. Kind of just doing things out of order here. Weight 3.5. I mean, it's aluminum and D2, which is fine. I think that's better than what was it? OS 8. That's almost become a meme steel at this point. But yeah, D2 is fine. I do not know how they are heat treating this. This is not a DLC coating. It's more than likely just paint. In fact, I think it actually is just paint. Yeah, not sure how they're heat treating their D2. It might come in a little bit low. It wouldn't surprise me if it did, but I don't have any way of testing the actual hardness. As far as cutting things, I mean, even if I were to spend a month cutting things, I'm cutting such light material on a day-to-day basis. I don't want anybody to be confused. I don't parade myself as like a professional knife tester. I'm more of a design reviewer who carries and uses knives like the average Joe, right? So even cutting things with this knife over the course of a month, it would basically just be cutting open packages and things like that. That's kind of what I use a pocket knife for, which is what most people use pocket knives for. So it's really hard for me to tell whether or not the heat treat is actually done correctly. Still though, if you know, it's like when you buy a car. If you pay for 500 horsepower, you expect 500 horsepower, right? I would expect the heat treat to be good. And not super duper soft, because nobody wants soft D2. That's pointless, right? Just use tinfoil at that point. Anyways, everything else is real. This is the Boker Kalashnikov. So it comes with all the same corks except for the weird pocket clip. You got the weird ergonomic lines. It's got the dagger ground blade, which looks cool. It's not an actual dagger. It's an unsharpened swedge, essentially. And as thin as the stock is, it's still, thick enough behind the edge that it's not the best slicer in the world. It will work, and it will also poke, right? But this is more of a knife that you carry because it looks cool. So yeah, you can still attach a lanyard to it. We still have really overall the same presence, the same exact presentation. It's fine. The Boker Kalashnikov really, its claim to fame was the fact that it was a dependable side-opening automatic knife with reasonable materials at the price point, and it just really wasn't all that great in the fit and finish department. But people kind of choked it down because it is still one of the best options for an automatic. For a lot of people, it was their first automatic. This is the same exact thing, but it's a manual button lock. So honestly, I mean, at the end of the day, this really is for very few people. If you want more detail, if you want like a 30-minute video of the Boker Kalashnikov, believe me, I've got one. I have a 30-minute video on pretty much any knife that you can think of. But if you want that, I've got one. You can just, same words, just apply it to a manual button lock version. There's no reason for me to ramble on and on today. But if you are a seasoned knife enthusiast, you will be thoroughly unimpressed with this knife. If we are looking for a budget button lock knife, pretty much anything Civivi makes, anything Kubi makes, anything that CJRB makes, I mean, it's all going to be better. This is a functional button lock, but it just doesn't live up to the same standards of quality that we expect now in 2023. It's okay and it'll work, right? You have to really, really love the Boker Kalashnikov and really, really want or need a manual version of it. That's who this is for. The price is $60, which I think is a bit high, but then again, these are still made in Taiwan, and it costs more to make a knife in Taiwan than it does China, right? But if you're just looking for a quality budget button lock knife, this isn't it. If you love how this looks, you'll kind of about it, right? But you just really love how the Kalashnikov looks, then sure, pick it up, right? But for those of you looking for your next good, dependable manual knife, I mean, you got a million options. The Kalashnikov is still the Kalashnikov, right? If you can find the automatic version, that's the one I'd go for. This is okay, but it's really, this is nothing to beat down any doors for, right? It's not bad, but it's also not great. It's a manual Kalashnikov, right? If you use a link, I got this knife for free from Blade HQ. If you use my link to buy this knife, I will make money on that, right? So you would think I have all of the incentives to tell you that this knife is really great. It's extremely mediocre, bordering on the lesser side of that. A free knife and some affiliate commissions is not enough for me to falsely claim that something is great when it's mediocre. If this is your first time exploring my channel and wondering if I'm bought and paid for, no. But it's okay, right? It's okay. I don't want to overly critique things. I've definitely handled worse, believe me. But yeah, it's all right. Oh yeah, and it's also not centered. I mean, it's pretty rare to get a Kalashnikov that is centered, right? It's also, before we wrap this up, it also definitely still has up and down play. This was during a time when it was kind of typical for automatic plunge locks to have up and down play, and so the Kalashnikov just got a pass, especially because it was so inexpensive. Civivi has managed, in fact, many companies have managed to perfect the plunge lock, and it doesn't have any play and no stick. This has a little bit of side to side and a little bit of up and down. Now, you can correct the side to side by tightening it, but I don't think you'll have the same action, right? And even then, it's not perfect. It's okay. That's about it. 10 minutes, 11 minutes, I think we're massively overkill at this point. So you can check this out if you want to. It's linked in the description. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.